All right, this will be module 1.2. We're going to do, I'm going to go through another website and look for golden prospects for this aviator sunglasses.net site, which is the site of John White, who is a retired pilot and had a very cool business insuring helicopters and part in one of the Gulf Wars. And talk about a lucrative gig right there. But right these days, other than flying, John likes selling sunglasses. So we're going to see if we can find him some golden prospects. And uh, and one of the things I wanted to bring up, let's say hi to John first. John's not on the call. Let me find John on this picture. There he is. Say hi to John, everybody. Hi, John. John, I want to start off looking at your logo. I know this is about link building, and one of the things that I love the idea of the logo. But if you could have a graphic designer have this, have the eyes of the airplane looking inwards towards the middle of the page, that will direct the viewer's eyes off onto into your header that you're, because you have really good headers in here that I like. And the same is true of your logo here. See how it's looking off page? And I know it doesn't make any sense, but viewers' eyes do follow the eyes of logos. Like your picture, your eyes are perfect. If it was looking off, you would have to just switch it, put it on the other side of the page, or have your developer do it. But I would definitely have your logo just tweak inwards and looking towards the inside of the page rather than the out. That's just from experience. That will help conversions because you want people eyes funneling instead of funneling away. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some assumptions, and let's say I'm coming in fresh to this, and I'm not. I think I've used this site as an example once before on a live call, but I can go deeper into it this time for you, John. Uh, I'm going to make some assumptions. First of all, I don't have John in front of me. And a lot of times when I'm looking at a client's site, I don't have my client in front of me either. I look at it and I say, okay, who are they trying to sell to? Who's their end user? In this case, I would think that you would say, well, aviator sunglasses, pilots. Oh, pilots who want sunglasses. That's one of the obvious niches, and I would write that down. And well, let's go with that one first. Uh, how do I get a hold of pilots? Well, a simple way, and I'm not going to move the screen. I'll tell you. I'm looking up pilot schools. So if I'm looking after pilots, if pilots are my sheep, then I'm going to go find shepherds of my sheep. And in this case, well, here in Michigan, there's a lot of flying schools, but here's a flight school. All right, let me move this up a little bit so you can see a little more. Very cool looking site. All right, flight schools. Somebody owns this website. Let's find out who owns this website. I'll show you a quick. Well, sometimes it'll tell you. Well, no, let's not get into that yet. Right now we're just looking. That's a later module where I'll show you how to do more research on the golden prospects once you select them. Right now we're just looking for golden prospects. All right, so is the owner of this business, is he or she coming across students, pilots? Yes. People that want to be pilots? Yes. So is there a good chance that this is a good shepherd for John? I would say yes. And then I would look a little further, and I'm just going to grab the URL. I'm going to go to SpyFu. Remember, that's a metric that I judge. whether a site will be a worthy target of my affection, or if they have some more growing to do before they're worthy of it. All right, so I'm going to put that link in here. Look, you can't really see the AdWords. Let me move it over real quick. They're doing 8.49. Well, they're doing about $8,500 a month in AdWords, and then also their organic value. I'm trying to get both in there at the same time. Looks like I can't without messing around with the size. I'm not going to do that. All right, so they're doing 8.5 in AdWords a month, and they're doing about 47.3. So add those together. What do you got there? You got 47 and 8. You got 55 point. You're looking at about 56, almost $56,000 worth of traffic a month, and most likely these are all pilot keywords, and those are obviously a pretty good indicator that this is a shepherd. If you were nearing a real shepherd, you would know that you were close to his flock because you would smell the sheep. In this case, the only way we can check their sheep is to take his site and put it over, and I say his. It could be a husband-wife team. It could be just a woman running it, or a man. I say him, but could he or she could we take their website over, look at it, and check out the metrics? And I'm looking at 55. That's 55,000. And then I would go and record that into my spreadsheet. Then I would go on to the next school, and let's do that. All right, so I found one school, another school, and it's important to get the list going. This one is GreatLakesAdventures.com, and these are all local to Michigan, so I imagine that there's a lot of schools nationwide. All right, now this one's a little different. They're not doing any AdWords, and they're only doing about $6,000 a month worth of organic traffic. Still might be a pretty good idea to build a relationship with this shepherd. Now, the reason I usually like to get all my golden prospects for the month figured out, and then figure out all their traffic sizes before I start doing any outreach and building social equity up with them to the point where I can ask them something. And so what I would imagine, so if you would find this prospect and do a bunch of things for this person, and then for he or she to build up capital for yourself, and then it turns out that you spent a lot more than you need to, because then you find 5 more prospects, and you find out the new prospects will have 100 times as much traffic, and you could have spent that money on them. So that's why I like getting a list of 25, separating them and sorting them by the amount of traffic value of the traffic they're getting. That way I know who to spend money on and who not to, and who to use other sources other than. So I'm not going to blow much budget on somebody only getting $8,000 worth of traffic a month, not when I have another 50 other golden prospects that are getting over 100,000. So it's like important to get a list. That way it kind of sets your sight on who's worth spending a little extra effort and even budget with, as opposed to somebody who you're only going to spend a minimal amount of budget or even time. So that's what I would do. I would, John, I would go through and get all these pilot schools. You'll find them all over the place on Google, and get 100 of them, whatever. And then I'll show you in Module 2 how to grab their names and find who the owners are, and then grab more important information. That way you can then reach out and build capital with them, then reach out to them. All right, so that's just pilots. So my assumption was that his only prospects would be pilots, but a lot of people wear aviator glasses. I used to wear aviator sunglasses, and I wasn't a pilot. So I would look here, and I would ranger shooting. Now ranger shooting is a little different. And these will be sportsmen. These will be a different type of golden prospect, a different sheep. See, here the sheep is different. Who's the sheep? People who go to shooting ranges, like myself. And if you've ever shot and fired a weapon and or went hunting and fired a shotgun and had residue get in your eye, even if it's from somebody next to you on the range, it hurts. And it's important too just to have good eye protection, because sometimes brass will come and empty shells will come after somebody fires, and you got one, and you could get hit in the eye, and it would hurt. So most ranges have rules where you have to have eye protection. And if you go to a local store and buy eye protection, most of them are just horrible looking, and they look like big goggles, and most shooters and most people going to ranges, they like to look good too. So I could see this being a really good sheep for you, is to go after people, John, who are into skeet shooting, who are into target shooting, who are into and really I don't know hunters, because most hunters we go out in the woods and we go hunting, and we don't go to the range a lot with shotguns. And but a lot of people go to the range for different reasons. So tapping into sportsmen would be a different angle you could get into, and so let's say skeet shooters. Let's say that's your specific. No, skeet shooting clubs. I like that. Well, you got the national clubs and Clay Targets Online. So let's go to Clay Targets Online. Is this going to be a good golden prospect for you? Well, it very well might be. First, I'm going to check to make sure that they are not. Okay, so this is like there's a lot of different clubs. So let's just browse by state. And John, I know where you are. You live close to me. So let's pull up Michigan. What clubs are in Michigan? Look at this. Look at this, John. That's money. How many of these people can you build a relationship up with? How many of these people sell awesome looking frames for shooting glasses? Maybe a couple, but most none. So that might be a pretty good angle for you to pursue. And as you get in there and I mean, let's just go to the top one, whoever it is. And let's find someplace close. Some Berry County Conservation. Where's someplace close to us, John? Lansing, Michigan. Where's this place? I grew up in Lansing. I don't. All right, who cares where they're at? All right, so if I'm looking, I'm finding you got phone numbers, and you pick up the phone and call these clubs, and some of them may have they may have like a council, like a president, and I don't know what they call them, and a secretary, and I'm not sure, but I would find out who those names are of the councils of or the whoever the board members are of each of these clubs, and it'll be easy for you. Ooh, what is this? I found a shepherd's need. So this is a shepherd for you. Clay Targets Online even more so, because clubs come to them. So they're a shepherd to clubs. And clubs are a shepherd to the sportsman. So that's like a shepherd's shepherd. That's a different, that's leverage. So if you can build a relationship up with Clay Targets Online, and it looks like they would like some help. Let's Take a look here. They're asking for donations. That's a shepherd's needs. That's a shepherd's need. Shepherd's need. We'll call that an SSN. No, do you get what I'm saying? Shepherd. Go after this chair I bought just for this set. It is so uncomfortable. I wish I could have my real chair, but I'd be too far down and I'd probably fall asleep because it's very comfortable. There's no way I could work like this all day. But there's a shepherd's need. So one of the things you do once you find your golden prospects, you start looking for their needs. But I found one right here. But maybe this isn't, maybe shepherd, just because they're a shepherd doesn't mean they're an automatic home run. Let's look. Let's take it over to Maury Povich. Oh, look at that. Not much. This is a golden prospect that I would pursue. Why? It's a shepherd. They don't receive a lot of traffic, but the traffic they receive are all shepherds that you're looking for. So it might be worth while say, hey, I would love to sponsor your website. Could you give me a banner in return? And then, no, offer them $500. Spend some money, and this might not be but that's something I would, maybe $250. Maybe they'll take $100. But the purpose is, if you go back to their site, I'm seeing a lot of space underneath this donation button, and say, what if you took that donation button off for a month and put my banner instead? Then you offer like 20% discount or a 10% discount or something, and have that banner go straight over to your website. Is that a long-term solution for you building a relationship with this golden prospect? No. Some of the best ways to get your golden prospect's attention is to hire them. And plus, this is a campaign you could really track. You'll be able to tell, wow, I placed that ad and I sold X amount of frames. That was crazy. And it turned out to be a 3-to-1 profit. And maybe then you go back and say, well, can you go down a little lower? I'm not selling enough. I'd love to keep supporting you. So at that point, you can really track the value that prospect is going to have in the long term for you by buying advertisement from them, and it gets their attention too. Now, if it turns out that it converts really well, you keep the advertising keep it going, keep paying them every month, keep the banner up. If it doesn't, then you say, well, thank you, I was hoping to get more conversions, I didn't. Then you could give your real numbers, share your numbers, do some screenshots, and maybe that person will be willing to negotiate down on price. And if there's nothing coming, then they're not even worth pursuing as a link prospect. Maybe a link prospect, but for the most part, I would work them for a link, and then at that point, see if they'll refer business to you. If you refer business to them, anybody that's a club, your favorite clubs, and then put them in a directory of clubs that you can add to your site. But that's just a couple of the ways I would suggest that you go about looking for golden prospects. And I could probably make this 3 hours long and come up with a dozen more. But between these clubs and between sportsmen, excuse me, fruit flies are still in here, I think these are the routes you want to go because there's plenty of them. And don't forget to look for shepherds and shepherds and the needs of both shepherds and shepherds. See you next module.